everybody, it's Romania Black. Oh, okay. I've calmed down. Man, it's hard in the heat of the moment when you're reacting to something like that to sit back and go over the episode again and reanalyze things. And so I was really frustrated at the end of the last episode, but I took some time and took a breather, and I went back and watched the episode again through a different distributor. I've been watching it through HDive or High Dive and then through Crunchyroll because the translations are a little bit different, but High Dive's the one that I can record. So that's the one I've been going to first for my initial reaction, and then I'll go back and watch the Crunchyroll version and see if there's been any translation differences. And it's not big, but there are a few differences with each episode. There's pros and cons to both translations, so I know some people have been commenting on differences, and I like the High Dives all right because I feel it's a more literal translation. Sometimes Crunchyroll's I feel kind of paraphrases things, but then on the other hand, sometimes Crunchyroll seems better. So take what you can get. But anyway, I want to make it clear. I don't hate Kakeru. I really like Kakeru as a character. And when I like him best is when we actually see him be his genuine self. So he's modest, he's very shy and quiet and introverted. That moment where the old man comments on Fastias, he's blushing and he's like, oh, don't say that. He's very, very modest and he takes a lot of things to heart. And so that's the Kakeru that I like best, is when he's very introspective and quiet and introverted. And I feel I've only seen the one flashback of him and his coach from high school, but I feel the coach, and some of you have commented about this, and I agree, I think the coach has really hurt him as a competitor in terms of conditioning him to think that competition and winning is all that there is to an event. And having competed on a competitive team before, I know that, yeah, winning's great, and to be competitive is a big part of being in any type of sport. But at the same time, there's more to it than that. And I think Haiji's trying to tell him, it's not just about speed. It's not just about this. It's about pacing. It's about your camaraderie with your team. It's about all these other elements. And Kakeru just has been conditioned and molded so much to think a certain way about sports that him trying to come around to Haiji's point of view is hard. And I get where Kakeru is coming from, because I'll admit in episode 7 when they did the track meet, Haiji was very frustrated that they weren't taking it seriously as they could. But I do think that Haiji, or Kakeru, was very frustrated they weren't taking it seriously. But I think Haiji is onto something in that they are trying. They're not athletes like Kakeru and Haiji are. So they're having to do things at their own pace. And it was so frustrating because Prince has been a character that has actively said repeatedly that he hates running, he hates the sport. And then last episode he goes out and proactively gets a treadmill. Somebody that hates a sport going out and getting something to make himself perform in it. I was so proud of Prince last episode for what he did, and then for Kakeru to just single him out and say, you're the weakest link, get faster or get off, it's it's very difficult. And I could tell that Haiji, you could just see on his face at the end of the episode, he was just so horrified that it's the last thing that we want to do to get our team, their morale broken, is for you to say something like that. And I know that we've only gotten little glimpses of Haiji's past, but that whole speech about speed, it just made me think that Haiji's speaking from so much experience. He's look, I was like you, Kakeru. I thought speed was everything. Here's what happened to me. Get the hint. It's I just want Haiji to come out and tell him about his experience and what happened to him, and maybe that make Kakeru understand more. And don't spoil it for me. Maybe that happens later on in the season, but it's just miscommunication. And it's drama like this and shows that make me so frustrated. But I'm hopeful that it will all work itself back around. But I don't know what's going to happen now. I'm honestly nervous from what is going to end up happening with this group. So I just want everybody to work together and have fun. Is that so hard? So case in point, I don't dislike Kakeru. I was very frustrated with him last episode because I wanted him to hear Haiji out, and I want him to go along with what Fujioka's trying to tell him to do. It's you respect Fujioka, you want to beat him. Maybe take a page from his book and do his advice when he says work with Haiji. Maybe do that. And I know Kakeru's big character point is that he doesn't work well with people, and I get that that's what this show is trying to bring out, him getting to that point. I just want to press the fast forward button and be okay, now get there. And so I don't know, maybe that'll happen. But In any case, we are going to watch episode 9 of Run with the Wind. Thank you all so much for watching and commenting. Thank you for not spoiling, and I hope you enjoy this reaction. And we are going to start this episode here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Okay, well that was ominous and didn't tell me anything. Except that something's wrong with Haiji. I don't know if it's related to his injury or if he's just gotten sick or... Because he did chase after... Okay, he did chase after Nico that big distance days prior when he was trying to track him down to get him to eat. And on the actual track when they were doing the practices, you did see Haiji like running around. So I wonder if he overexerted himself. What the deal was. I'm really worried. I mean, I'm sure he'll be fine, right? Right? Don't spoil it for me, but this episode, I like that we got instant redemption for Kakeru and instant just get rid of all that drama. Like, I'm glad that it's not a total character reversal, that Kakeru is still like, I'm still doubtful. I still don't think we can do well at the Hakeone. I don't think we can do well at the final relay that we're aiming for. I don't think it's going to go well, but I love that he finally gets to see like how important it is to be a team player and to be a teammate and to support their teammates. And that was genius on Haiji, because at first I thought it was just going to be Kakeru that wasn't racing, but no, Haiji sat this one out. Nico sat it out because Nico's not been doing things properly, so he needed to sit out. King, same thing. King just got back on board. He needed to sit out because I think for King it was more perspective of the race. King needs to see the perspective than Nico and Kakeru's health aspect of it. And for Kakeru, he needed to have that perspective too. And then obviously Prince, I think it was more of a mental thing of him sitting out. And the moment that Prince and Kakeru like slowly raised their hands and started yelling at the teammates, like my heart swelled so much. That was such a beautiful moment. And them all yelling and Haiji just going crazy, which maybe he shouldn't have done that, but oh my gosh. And none of them qualified this round, but I don't think that was the point of this track meet. It was to give them all, the ones that are capable and the closest to making time. Haiji wanted them to get this practice in to see what else they could improve on before the next track meet. And in the meantime, the ones that are the lower to making their track records, with the exception of Kakeru, they need to get just that perspective and extra chance to like view the race in its entirety through a different context. And that was just so good. And the reveal that Haiji's been like on this kick of training all of them secretly for the last 4 years is like some next level demon senpai. Like, you've been playing with this the whole time. But I'm really kind of worried about him, to be honest, because that's I'm glad that him and Kakeru have seemingly that Kakeru's kind of come around to maybe seeing things a little bit more from Haiji's perspective. When he called Haiji out on the track, I was like, oh, buddy, maybe a little out of your depth. Maybe you shouldn't talk about stuff like that. That's not, because everybody else on the track was like, you bringing this up? But I liked at the end where he's still doubtful, but he's recognizing what Haiji means. Like, that's all I wanted last episode. Episode 8, I just wanted Kakeru to understand where Haiji was coming from. And I think he finally has gotten that. And of course, right when he gets it and confesses that to Haiji like collapses. They showed Nico in the next episode in the preview starting out, so it looked like maybe this has happened before and Nico understands what's going on. I'm hoping, since Nico knows Haiji the longest, that he will have some insight. And it looked like the coach maybe is getting brought in. I don't know. He's been absent this whole series so far. But I'm so glad that Prince is still in this and seems more motivated. I'm so glad that Kakeru is finally coming around to understanding that this team's dynamic. When Haiji said at the end, he's like, our team does it its own way. Like, that's so true. Like, these guys are not like any other track meet. They don't have the fancy matching track uniforms. They don't have the, like, professional bus or anything like that. They're in, like, a rundown van, but they do things their own way. and Haiji's like coaching them in the only way he seems to know how. So I love that Kakeru is coming around maybe to the idea that this team is a little bit different than what he had in high school, but that doesn't make it worse. That means it's good in its own way. So I just want my underdogs to do good. And like, I'm so happy with this episode up until the last 30 seconds when Haiji just, ugh. I want to know what happened to him. So I guess we'll find out next episode, in episode 10. I guess, y'all. Anyway, leaving us out on another cliffhanger, you know? So, please no spoilers down below, but let me know what you all thought of this episode. I know you guys are probably going to comment on Kakeru and, like, his development. I know we still have Sakaki was absent from this last track meet, so I'm assuming he'll show up for the next one they go to. But I'm really, I know there'll be more development and scenes, hopefully, with Kakeru and Haiji and their backstories. That scene where Haiji was slowly walking, like, on the trainer to, like, train himself to walk again. Like, that instantly connected to paralleling how Prince runs and how Haiji runs. And it makes so much more sense now because why he runs alongside Prince, because he sees so much of himself in Prince. And oh my gosh, when it goes back to him a few episodes ago being like, eventually you'll be a great runner. Like, you know, in the back of his head, he's like, someone told him that, like, oh, you can't walk now, but eventually you'll be a great runner again. And like him envisioning himself through Prince and seeing that struggle and knowing internally what that means, that flashback, oh my gosh, if there hadn't been so much going on and they'd focused a little bit more on that, oh, that cut to the core, just like that, realizing that connection between him and Prince. Oh my gosh, you guys. Like, I definitely, even though he didn't understand quite what he meant about the manga, like just that connection between those two makes so much more sense now. And knowing why Haiji is like followed alongside him this whole time, like, it just gives so much more depth to all those prior scenes. Like, I feel like if I go back and watch it now, every scene of him running alongside Prince, it's just gonna be like emotion, because it's like, you know that he's just like comparing it to himself. And Run with the Wind, y'all. I'm so happy about this episode. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed it as well. Thank you all so much for watching, and please come back next week and we find out what the heck happened with Haiji. Hopefully he's okay, but in the meantime, stay safe, take care, and I'll talk to y'all again soon. Bye.